me see. We sit next to each other. Let's scoot over that way. Never done this before. We're going to try to make this work. Well, folks, I am here with this cool guy, Doug Fehan, former program manager for Corvette Racing and now Corvette brand ambassador.
Brand ambassador.
Which is pretty cool, I would probably
Well,
think.
that's code for fossil.
Oh. You've been doing it for about, what, 3.5 years now?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yep.
How are you? I'm sure it's a change of pace from being the program manager, and it sounds intense to me.
Well, program management is intense, and you know, it's a full-time job.
I can imagine.
It's 24/7. If you didn't really love what you did, they couldn't pay you enough to do it.
Yeah.
Because you know you're working every weekend. And,
yeah.
You know, Saturday is like Tuesday. You know.
Yeah,
there's no
so.
distinction between those days. But the brand ambassador position, I have to tell you, is really the fun part of what I did. I enjoyed everything I did in my 25 years as program manager. There wasn't a day that I didn't enjoy myself. But obviously, you know, that has a scale, and being able to interact with our customer, being able to interact with race fans. I mean, that was really the frosting on the cake.
Yeah.
And that's essentially what I'm doing. So
yeah.
I've got the best of that world as my responsibility.
Is it a bit more of a flexible schedule as a brand ambassador?
Oh yeah, there's no question. Yeah, and I get to do a lot more things too because I'm not encumbered, you know, by having to do, you know, engineering meetings, marketing meetings, all the things that I had to do on a normal day's activity. I can now focus on stuff like this event. Right? All right. At the races, I do the Corvette corrals. I do some talks for our major sponsors of the series, Michelin and Mobile One. All right. Made presentations to their sales force, motivational type of stuff, as well as educational. There's a lot of people that are involved in automotive companies that are not necessarily race fans. And getting them introduced to the sport, getting them introduced to the environment, they find it very exciting, it's motivating, and the company's been able to leverage racing that way.
Sounds, I'm glad to hear that you're enjoying it. But how about for your personal life? Has it opened up more personal time for you? And what do you like to do on your personal time?
Well, you know, yes, there's a little. There is a little more free time.
Yeah.
My sport of choice is golf.
Okay.
All right, and so it's provided me a little more opportunity to get out and do that. I also have a hobby, general carpentry and construction. I actually have a builder's license in the state of Michigan.
That's awesome.
All right. I don't do that for a living, but I do it for fun.
Yeah.
So handyman stuff, I find great enjoyment and reward in doing that. And, you know, not having to get up at 6 o'clock every morning. Sleeping plays a big role.
Yeah, I can imagine so. Catching up on sleep.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm waiting for my time for that, trust me. As a brand ambassador, I was thinking about this. I was like, you know, as a brand ambassador, you probably get all the cool swag, Corvette swag. Like everything, Corvette branded everything. What's the weirdest thing that you have branded with Corvette on it?
Oh, you know,
you only get so much, or have had so much over the years.
Yeah, I've had a variety of stuff. I've had a lot of stuff that people have made for me, actually handcrafted stuff, right? And it's not necessarily weird. I mean, it's kind of coveted when you know that the individual has put his, you know, blood, sweat, and tears into what they're presenting to you. I can't think nothing comes to mind about it being really, really, really unusual. I'd have to really spend some time thinking about that. On my wall in my office, I have a picture that has the most beautiful frame. The picture in and of itself is pretty iconic. It's a picture from Le Mans, standing up on the wall, waving the American flag. But it's framed in probably the most beautiful picture frame I've ever seen, that was made by the gentleman who took the picture and presented me with it. I mean, those are the things that have huge meaning. And then little memorabilia, whether it's a table marker from a dinner at Le Mans, or you know, various photographs that I'm with. I have a favorite photograph of myself, Gary Pratt and Gary Claudio. And we were kind of the three musketeers in racing when it started.
Gary Claudio, he created Jake, correct?
Yes. Well, he was promoted Jake. Jake he named Jake.
Okay.
Okay, but Jake was the idea of one of our truck drivers. By the name of Don Mann.
Yes.
He came up with that whole concept, and Gary polished it up. The design in and of itself was done by a gentleman out of a small boutique design firm in New York called Kick Design.
Okay.
They were responsible for the original. Drew it on a napkin. It was Eddie Jabbour.
The best things usually start on a napkin, don't they?
Just sitting there having dinner, and he just kind of sketched it out while Gary and I were talking about it. So, cool. Yeah, those things have huge relevance.
Okay. Is there something Corvette branded that you don't have that you're like, hey, Corvette team, I want you to throw a Corvette logo on this so I can have it? Have you had to put in that request yet?
Well, it was funny because we did deal with GM licensing. Okay, when Jake was invented. All right, and I had to meet with the licensing official, explain to him what we were going to do with Jake, and make sure that we got it copyrighted and trademarked. Yeah. When you go into the trinkets and trash business, which I lovingly refer to it as, with all the items you're talking about, from a branding perspective, there's not a whole lot you can't find that at some point in time isn't or hasn't been branded, whether from a cigarette lighter to boats to you name it. They utilize that Corvette brand, and they pay a royalty to do that. It's good business for General Motors, and it's a lot of fun for entrepreneurs to come up and come up with new ideas and be able to leverage Corvette. I was just looking this morning online for a side seat storage kind of cubby, a leather storage cubby. You know, that you can, because you always drop stuff in.
Yeah, you put it so that I know exactly what you're talking about.
So there's companies out there that are making. I was looking to see if there was one Corvette branded. I only had a few minutes, so I wasn't able to find one, but I'm sure somebody out there is going to be doing it.
And maybe if somebody sees this,
if somebody sees this, I want you to get that little cubby, that leather cubby for the C8.
Doug, he needs it.
I want it.
Obviously I had to do some research on you. I'm very new to cars and racing since I've moved here to Texas. I can't imagine. Well, first I know that cars is basically in your blood. It's your life. From when you were a kid with your father's shops, and I know that you used to race yourself, and obviously you were you worked for different companies, program manager, you're ambassador now. You have seen the brand evolve from humble beginnings. Is that an okay word to use?
Corvette always had a wonderful reputation. All right, and it was lovingly referred to as America's sports car. Obviously the objective, my objective, and my boss's objective, when we put together this Corvette race program, was to expand upon that. Right? That we weren't fully utilizing the power of Corvette, and we had an engineering group that was responsible for designing and building the Corvette that wanted to take it to new levels, and it was just the perfect timing. It was a perfect storm of the race program coming together when Corvette was going to begin this technological advancement program. And that's what really kicked it off. Dave Hill was the chief engineer, and he had I'm not saying a radical new Corvette design, but it was fundamentally brand new technologies, hydroform frame rails. I mean, just a lot of stuff was going to be new on this car, and really dedicated to elevating the performance of the Corvette, which, by utilizing racing, our goal was to move it from America's sports car to the world's sports car. And that was our want, our goal, and our willingness to compete at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Because we knew if we could compete successfully on that stage, that it would get the recognition that it deserved. And that's what we've been able to build upon. Those are the building blocks. Those are the foundation of which developed and delivered the C8 to our customers today. And I think arguably, we build one of the premier sports cars in the world.
Well, I would say it's fair to say that you had a hand in the evolution.
It was truly a team effort.
Yes. But we're not. I know you're humble. You're being humble, but you did. I mean, you were a key player in a lot of it.
Well, thank you.
As someone who can reflect back on your career, and obviously you shifted gears, slightly. Looking back, if you had to describe it in one word, how would you describe your career and witnessing the evolution of the Corvette brand from where it started to where it is now?
Rewarding.
Imagine.
And there's all different kinds of levels. It's not just the car in and of itself, which is certainly a large enough reward, but people, because at the end of the day, the final distillation of any achievement always comes back to people.
Absolutely.
I mean, you can have great design, great product, great colors, big motors. It all still comes back to people. People are responsible for all that. Absolutely. And starting out in that race program, the kids that were working on that program, I watched them get married and have kids, and now their kids are working in racing. I had in 1996, I had Wayne Taylor as a driver Oldsmobile WSC program. And we fast forward to the last few years, I had his son Jordan Taylor racing for us on the team, and Ricky Taylor was driving for us for a year. So you know, when you've been around it long enough that you're doing dads and kids coming up through the same deal, racing the Corvette. I mean, it's rewarding covers it.
I love that. And that, I hope that we all find a career that we feel, gives us that sense of, the reward.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about, because you were touching upon racing. Let me check my mic. We're still good? Okay. So I know that you used to race. The stories that I read that in the 1960s you raced a stock Chevelle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Are you still racing now?
No.
No?
No.
Oh.
And I have to tell you, I don't know what it is. I mean, I really have no desire. Again, my focus on what we had done and what we were setting out to accomplish, and as that success builds tremendous momentum, I've just forgotten all about that. I really have no desire. I mean, sometimes we'll go to an event and there'll be go-kart racing. Once in a while, I might do that. But don't you want to? I really don't. No, I mean, it's just not. I don't know what it is, but I've made the transition from doing to dreaming, and it's. I really like the dreaming part. I like when you can look forward and pick out a goal and an objective and try and get there and bring a group of people with you. All right, they're going to have that same level of enjoyment and excitement and the same, again, reward that I get.
Okay. Do you have any of your family members, any kids who are like, yeah, I'm going to follow in, Uncle Doug's steps? Or
no kids. I do have a couple nephews. Yeah. Well, of course, they're fans.
Yeah. Okay. Are they trying to get into racing too? Or?
No. They all have careers. Okay. I have a younger brother, 3.5 years younger, and he, if you've read the profile, I mean, that's what got us into road racing. Yeah. I was a roundy round guy. He didn't want to do roundy round. He wanted to do road racing, and we started at a local club, and that's really what kicked me. That was the real precursor to all of it.
Well, if I recall reading correctly, you got noticed for what y'all were fixing up and doing. On your grits.
Local and amateur level, yes, we did. But we did a good job. I mean, and it comes down to passion.
Yeah.
When you have passion for something, and you have the opportunity to explore that, generally good things happen.
I agree with you 100%. And it's funny because, like I mentioned, I'm just getting into cars and racing now. I hope to learn everything from how to put my hands on a car, oil changes, and I want to get a project car one day. But I actually would like to even try go-karting, to even sit in a race car. It's a dream of mine. But I've noticed, because I'm now doing a little bit of R&D on Instagram, so I'm following different racing groups and racers themselves, and I swear they all seem like kids. I'm 35, and they're 16, 17. I see babies, and I'm just like, why are they so young?
you only have to, well, it's true in all sports. You only have to look, for example, in NASCAR, and it's just not unusual to see 16, 17, and 18-year-old kids who are competing, not necessarily in the Cup Series.
That's true.
Although there are a couple. But they're coming up through the NASCAR series, where the Truck Series or one of the lower levels. I mean, they're starting so young. I mean, you've gone local roundy round tracks. There's kids 13, 14 years old out there competing.
Is this a new phenomenon, or has it always kind of been like this?
No, it's not always been like that. No, not at all. No, it's just interesting. It's just an evolution. Well, as you change, there's more opportunities out there.
That is true.
All right. I mean, it's a sport that's grown. It's not unlike golf. I mean, you have amateur golfers. You have 16, 17, 18-year-old amateur golfers that have played golf since they've just been tiny little kids, right? Who are now competing with guys who are seasoned professionals, and in a lot of cases, they're competing successfully against those guys. I mean, I hate to say it, but you get to the point where you're 30 or 35 years old, you're on the downside.
Oh,
because you got all these young people coming up
I know.
Who have had great nutrition, great instruction, great equipment.
Yeah.
Right? They've had distinct advantages as science and technology has advanced. I mean, Ian Magnuson, one of our drivers, is going in the Hall of Fame this year. Right? He's an ex-Formula One guy. Okay. Well, he has one son that's currently in Formula One right now, and he has another one that just won the Danish go-kart championship.
Wow.
All right. So he's been, you know, that young one is going to have the benefit of coming up with the best equipment, going to the best races, getting the best instruction. By the time he's 15, 16, 17 years old, he's going to be accomplished.
Yeah, very much.
It's just a you know, question of opportunity.
Yeah, well, I'll close out with this one. That was actually what I wanted to end with my last question. So I'm not going to give up because I'm a believer that you can do anything you put your mind to. That's why I'm a believer in that. But for anyone who's like myself, who wants to get into racing, even at a later stage, any quick pro tips that you would like to give us, or any words of encouragement, maybe?
Well, let me just tell you, if you've got a passion for something, you need to follow it, because if the passion's strong enough, as you said, put so aptly, you're going to find a way.
There we go.
And again, comes right back to our common denominator word. There's no greater reward than succeeding at something you love doing.
Amen to that. I appreciate your time. Thank you.